America, and welcome to Invent America, because America invents.
This episode of Invent America TV is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network and has been bringing to you the best of America's home-based product innovation since 1998. This segment of Invent America TV is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Burrasca. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
And thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Invent America, because America invents. And as we see new products coming into the marketplace, it is a wonderful privilege to be able to present these to you so you know what to go and look for. And my guest today is Rita Widener. All right, she is the inventor of Practeze folder. Interesting name. And today we're talking about trademarks. Now, I know you've all seen these trademarks out there, and you're, oh, what's that? It's got an R by it. It's got a TM by it. You know, there's a reason why, and we are going to talk about that. But what I want to share with you right now is that the sponsor of this segment is Noah McNeely with Product Quick Start, and he does prototypes and gets things teed up for manufacturing. So if you know somebody out there who's got a product that they need a nice looking prototype, proof of concept is what we call it, or a sexy prototype, but don't tell anybody I said that, because, you know, I get smacked every once in a while. Anyway, it is those prototypes that help us get something manufactured. So Noah McNeely with Product Quick Start. Rita, thank you so much for being with us. Rita, meet Rita. And, you know, we always get teased about that when we're at a show. It's like, Rita, and one of us will answer, what do you want? So tell everybody, what is Practeze?
Okay, thanks for having me back on the show. The Practeze folder is a practical, portable product that is designed to help musicians or actors or speakers to practice with ease. And so it's a folder that has built-in mirrors. There's a large mirror and a smaller mirror that's removable and adjustable. And it folds up very neatly into a portable product. It has carrying handles. It can fit inside of a backpack or a briefcase. And the convenience of this is that when you're practicing a musical instrument or as a speaker and you want to see yourself, you know, it's not a new concept to practice with a mirror, but having one conveniently in your workspace is not always possible. And so what I've done is I've brought the mirror from the bathroom or the bedroom into a Practeze folder that you can carry with you to your rehearsal room. And it's just a useful product, so you can get immediate feedback. And if you're an actor or speaker, you know, you need that as well. And sometimes the digital formats are not always the best way, because there's playback, there's taking up space on your phone, there's distractions from the phone. And so we may not always want to do recording, but get some immediate feedback to work with.
Well, and I think a good example for our listeners is that whenever you've seen a movie in a dance studio, they're always practicing in front of a wall that is mirrors. So they can see, you know, what does their facial expression look like? You know, when somebody says, no, point your toes, and they go, I thought it was pointed. And then you're watching in the mirror, you're thinking, oh, no, I don't point my toes. So when you're looking then at the idea of when you're singing, you don't always know what your expression is. You don't always know why. You know, sometimes it's like you didn't hit that note right. Or, you know, when a director, a band director says, no, hold your hands like this when you're playing something, you know, your fingers need to be going this way. And you don't realize it unless you see it in the mirror.
Yes, absolutely. It has been a very helpful tool for myself. I'm a pianist. I'm a piano teacher, and that's how I invented it. I was trying to find a way to practice in front of a mirror, didn't have one conveniently located. But I also play flute as a hobby, and I've been taking some private lessons. Even I'm a professional musician, but I'm taking private lessons, and I have been using my folder to watch myself practice, and it has been a very, very helpful tool. As I can't always tell exactly what I'm doing, but if I'm looking at myself, I can actually see the errors for myself. And so it's just been a very good experience even for myself using this and allowing myself to learn something new and see that, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing here. But having that tool has been super helpful for me.
Well, and that's great because I think, especially like playing the piano, you know, you might be having a facial expression that you don't even know you have on a regular basis until you see you in a mirror and think, okay, maybe I don't want to push my lips out like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to close my eyes when I'm playing. And you don't know unless somebody says, oh, gee, you're doing that. It's like, no, I'm not. And then
Yeah.
you see yourself in the mirror, or if you've got your eyes closed, you don't see yourself in the mirror and think, oh, maybe I, do hold my mouth wide open when I'm playing the piano, or maybe I do keep my eyes closed.
Yeah.
And now you can see what you're doing. I know I played the clarinet when I was growing up, and I know that, my daughters played the piano. It's like, did you ever look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing that? And it's like, okay, now you can.
Yes. And it's beyond even cosmetic, the appearance, because technically when you are holding an instrument or holding your hands a certain way, you can impede or help. And so sometimes when you're trying very hard, you don't realize that your wrist is too high or too low, or that your instrument is not aligned if you're playing a wind instrument. And these are factors that will prevent you from doing your best. So aside, I mean, I appreciate the cosmetics too, the confidence that, yeah, I look good on when I'm performing, but more importantly, for students to see what is hindering their progress. So it prevents frustration because there's a solution for that. You
Yeah.
can find the problem, you can find a solution. It's less frustrating and more productive.
Yeah.
And that's the
And
whole
sometimes
purpose.
it's as simple as you say. It's like, your wrist has got a kink in it, and they don't
Yes.
even realize it until they see it. And so that can make a big difference. And then all of a sudden they're holding their wrist in the right direction. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm not flat anymore.
Yes.
And it's, it can make a big difference. So Rita, how did you decide on the name? It's a very good name. And we tell people, it's like, what would someone Google to find you? Well, practicing, all right, and folder, all right, those are good things that would come up. But how did you decide?
Well, this was a long time ago. I was coming up with this concept, and my first name I chose was already taken by somebody else. And so I was not, trying to find a word that would capture the idea of practicing with ease. I wanted it to be very simple, and I got some friends, and I call them my allies. And we just were having dinner and talking about this product. And I said, hey guys, I'm trying to come up with a name. Can y'all, throw out some ideas? And so I was describing it and saying practice with ease, and somebody just blurted out, call it Practeze.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, I don't know, that's a made-up word. And then I thought more about it, and I thought, you know what? You'd probably have to use a make-up word to capture exactly what you want to convey. And so the idea of practicing with ease in one word. And another huge thing is getting a one-word.com. I mean, practeze.com. Practice, you don't have to have a long string of in a name. It's just a very simple one word that captures the design and the meaning of the product.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I always tell folks to do is like exactly what you did. Get up, get some of your friends around the table, put it out in the middle of the table, open a good bottle of wine or a couple of beers and say, what would you Google to find this?
Yes.
And you start throwing words out there. And it's hard to get, a short trademark these days, unless you're using an unusual spelling. Now, that can hurt or help. And it really then depends on, what it is, how you put it together, and then, how you're able to move it out there so people can find you. And so
Right.
what have you done to help people find you?
So far, I have gone to trade shows. I went to ASD Market with you, Market Week in March. And before that, I launched a Facebook page and a website. And I did a Kickstarter campaign years ago when I first launched the product. And so that was my first way of getting the word out. In the meantime, while I'm having the product built in China, it's been a little bit low key, mostly just making people know I have a product coming. But since I don't have any to sell, I've kept the advertising to, kind of just exposure. But definitely the website and the market week has been the biggest exposure for the product. And then telling friends, telling people about it and sharing it, giving it away to orchestras and just letting them use what I had as samples.
Great, great. So when are you looking at then being able to have inventory?
Well, it's currently in the Shenzhen, China region. They're working on it, and I'm hoping to get my first prototype before the end of the year. And this is a new factory, and so I made some modifications to the design, and I'm hoping to have product by spring. That's a
Excellent.
big hope, but yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, stick with us, everybody. We will be right back with Rita Widener and Practeze folder and find out more about her story and what she's been going through. But if you know an inventor out there and they've got questions, have them get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to answer questions and point them in the right direction for a good service provider. But stick with us. We're going to talk a little bit more about the trademark wars.
This segment of Invent America TV is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
And thank you so much for sticking with us for Invent America, because we solve the problems in America by inventing new products. And my guest right now is Rita Widener. She's invented a cool product, and she's in those early stages of now getting some inventory done and waiting for shipment to get over here. Rita, what is your goal with your product? Where do you want it to, what are you looking to do with it?
So I'm hoping this product, the Practeze folder, is the first of a line of products. And so I branded it with the idea that I didn't want to have just one product. I want to have a line of products that help students and people to practice with ease. And so my long-term vision is this folder will take off in a market. I can sell it to schools, orchestras, and then provide another line of products that also complement the idea of practicing with ease. I have a design for a metronome working in the back of my mind, still on the drawing board, but that one will be my next product. I also have lines of services such as, coaching. How do you practice with ease? And so I'm designing products that can be used online and independent, but just an idea that it's not just one product, but a line of products and a family name that says, we help you practice with ease.
Excellent. So when you filed, all right, your trademark, you used the TM for a while, correct?
Yes.
All right. Tell everybody, what is the TM?
Well, the trademark, you are hoping to get that registered in your name. In the meantime, you can put it on file, and then you're waiting, and then the trademark office replies if you're approved or not. And so, yeah, then I change it to the R, which is really special to say it's a registered trademark.
Correct. Very good. And I didn't even give you that as an early test question to study. But yes, the trademark, the symbol for the TM, it's kind of like, this is mine. You're claiming it as your own until it goes through the process. And then the registered, the R is like, oh, yay, because now it's official. And for someone who says, someone is infringing my mark, it's really hard to hold them accountable and say you need to back off if you haven't officially filed and been given the registered mark. So what we look at is being able to say, okay, let's get this in the hopper, get it filed, and then you can go after someone and say, you're infringing on my mark, you need to stop. And it does happen.
Yes, it does.
And so where you've got a unique mark, good for you. And that's terrific. I know we had a lady years ago that filed a mark for a kitchen product. And another company came after and they wanted that mark pulled, and their mark was on a diaper product. It's like, oh, come on. And the trademark office actually said, no, you did not do everything in a timely manner, Mr. Complainer. And so we're going to let this mark stand. And they're still using that mark 15 years later. And that product is in all of the Home Depots and Lowe's.
Wow.
But you fight for your mark. You really do when somebody
Yes.
infringes on it. And it happens. And sometimes it's really hard to get the mark you want. Like you said, the first name you wanted was already taken.
Right.
And sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, yes, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise for me.
I know somebody when I was first, my company name is Flacuza International. And it's, originally we were looking at FLC and they came back to me and said, well, FLC.com is taken by a German company. And I said, oh, for goodness sakes, put a USA on there and we are good to go. And so we get Flacuza because I didn't want to just say the letters. And so it was really interesting the way that worked out because nobody else is going to have that name but me and my company. And so my brand is different than the name of the company. The name of the company is the legal name. But the brand, everybody knows me as America's Inventor Lady.
Yes, absolutely.
So you'd be able to use, business name and product name. So you could have your products lined up with similar types of names. But the business entity would be a name that doesn't even need to be registered because it's unique to you.
Correct. Right.
So you're looking for inventory to be in then sometime after the first of the year.
Hopefully, yes.
Springtime.
Yes.
And so then you'll be selling online. Where else will you be selling?
So I will definitely sell online through the website. I'm hoping to put it in stores that supply musical instruments and the like. And of course, going directly to schools there's organizations that support music education, and you can get a booth at the conventions. And there are a lot of people who are looking for new products and new, band equipment and so on. And so I think attending those shows that hit the direct market that I'm aiming for would be my first go. Aside from the online sales, which, you promote on Amazon or Shopify or wherever. But yes, directly going to the consumer and saying, hey, I have a cool product. And my goal is that the whole school districts will order, as a supply for the students or put it on their supply list.
What has your feedback been from the schools that you've gone to and the people who have used your samples?
I've gotten incredible feedback. They love it. It serves a purpose. It helps. It's simple. It's non-digital. And it actually works with the iPad if you want to put an iPad in there most people carry music on an iPad these days. So it actually holds the iPad. It will have a station for a portable battery. So you can keep your iPad charged and carry it around with you in the case if you want to. So far, students have reported it's helped them to overcome technical issues, and it's fun to work. And I think they prefer to give themselves feedback. They don't like to be criticized so much by the teacher all the time. It's a lot easier if they can see it and know it themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that was a key is that, when they can see it themselves, the teacher's not telling them, the teacher's not yelling from a platform, Mr. Student over there, you've got your arm at the wrong angle and everybody looks at them. They can see it themselves. And especially this is something that they could actually use in, the orchestra room or with a group around them because it doesn't make any noise and it's easy.
Yes, exactly.
So they can see themselves actually even before the teacher does. So everybody stick with us. We're going to be right back with Mr. Ray Burrasca, who is an expert at helping people fight for their mark.
If you're an inventor or an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org.
And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. And we're talking right now about those marks you see on a package, the trademarks. And just because you've invented a product doesn't mean you're the only one that's going to be trying to file a trademark. People who have businesses, standalone businesses, for a lot of them, their only intellectual property is their mark. What are they calling their business? And when somebody wants to grab a piece of it and they infringe or they start using your mark, it can make the store owner quite cranky. So Ray, explain some of the legalese on that, because I know you just got done helping a service provider. who does remodeling services in Virginia, deal with that. And it was so funny because he said, you can use my story on the radio, but you can't call me and say, oh, hi, you're on, you're live on the radio right now, because I'd probably pass out. So anyway, he did give us permission to use his story. So tell everybody what happened and how did you help him?
Okay. So the mark that this particular client had was one of those marks that creates problems for the owners of those marks because they think they own more geography in terms of the trademark space than they actually do own. In this particular case, the owner had taken two words, had not put them together, had allowed them to remain separate as two words, filed for a trademark. And fortunately, he happened to have, not me, but he happened to have a really good lawyer who realized the problem with the mark immediately. And that is that the mark actually consisted of two words, each of which were very fairly ordinary common words that one would find. One of the words was a geographic location, and the other word was an object. And he put the two words together in the hopes that he would be able to exclude everybody in that particular geographic area, which was the area that the first word referred to. He was hopeful that he could exclude everybody in that geographic area, every seller in that geographic area, from selling the object, which was the second word, and exclude everybody just on the basis of grabbing the geographic location and the object, the noun, if you will. And so what happened was, ordinarily, when you try to get those kinds of marks registered, the United States Patent and Trademark Office will reject those applications. And they reject it on the basis that it's merely descriptive. It's common, ordinary, and descriptive. And what they're always looking for is something that is unique and what they call fanciful. And this was not fanciful. Now, if he had taken the two words and put them together so it looked like one word, that would be deemed fanciful. And he could then have easily gotten the trademark registration on that. Instead, what happened, because he had the word separate, this particular trademark attorney that filed for him, when the office action came back from the trademark office that they would not accept registration of the mark, he quickly responded and said, okay, I get it. I understand. These are really just descriptive terms. I'll tell you what, under the trademark statutes, there's a second category of mark, which is we won't put you on what's called the principal register, but we will put you on the supplemental register. Well, rather than do that, which would take basically 7 years for that mark to mature into a protectable mark, he just parroted back to the examiner the statutory section. And the examiner, to my great surprise, capitulated. And so he was granted registration of the mark on the primary, on the principal register.
Right. He was granted the mark because he had been using it for a long, long time and hadn't filed anything. So technically, he had been out there with that mark and nobody had challenged it. In this situation, at the point where he was getting angry, it was because a couple of franchises had come in and they were using online and picking up the geography and the object and using that then to take business away from him. So it was, I could see where it made him cranky. And I could see where they were saying, oh, we're not infringing at all, but kind of they were, because he had the history.
Yes. In addition, even though when he came to us to get advice and to get help in trying to shut down these competitors, or at least shut down their use of his, quote, mark, if you will, when he came to us initially, when we did the research, we came to determination that the mark was relatively weak in relation to what's called basically keyword purchases. There's a way that you can purchase keywords through the Google Ads mechanism that gives you exclusivity to use those keywords in a certain combination. And because of that, the law as it's evolved has determined that even though you have registration of a mark on the principal register, if someone uses keywords to get around that registration, that you have only a 50-50 chance of being able to uphold your mark. So what I did was I thought about it and I said, going against these guys just on the basis of the mark itself is not going to be profitable because he'll only have a 50-50 chance of being able to do anything. And if he tries to proceed and he loses, they will laugh in his face and they will continue to use that mark, probably more than they've ever used it before. So what I decided to do was to look into state laws and rules pertaining to business operations. And I discovered, lo and behold, to my great surprise and delight, that the particular state he was in is extreme in its attempt to protect local businesses. And so what we're able to conjure up are much stronger business interruption causes of action, which we can then threaten the competitors with. And it's my belief at this point that if he had to proceed against those competitors, he could probably prevail based on his long, continuous use of the mark, based on the fact that he has evidence that they've stolen customers away from him, and that he's suffered financial injury because of it. So sometimes what you want to do in connection with trademarks is you don't want to just rely on your trademark registration. You want to go deeper. What other things might impact the behavior that the competitors are engaging in?
Well, it's interesting that, a trademark can be very valuable. And you want to be able to protect it because people identify then with you in that market, especially if it's a business. All right. And as opposed, you've got a product out there, but if you're a storefront and your name then is what you are relying on, and when you take that name and go out to social media and somebody else is out there, and starts picking it up and using it, I can see where it would make you cranky. And that's one of the reasons why I've told inventors, yes, it's fairly straightforward to file that trademark and get it into the system. But man, there are some nuances. And if Martin had not had the good attorney to do that for him, he would have lost everything back then.
Yeah, he would not have been given registration of the mark. At best, he would have gone on a supplemental register for 7 years.
Yeah. And so, boy, doing it yourself, it's like, yes, legally, can you file your own patent? Yes, you can. Should you? No, you shouldn't. Should you file your own trademark? Yes, you can. No, you shouldn't do it by yourself. Get an attorney. That is what they are paid the big money for, and that is what they went to school for. So stick with us, everybody. We're going to take off, pay a couple bills, and then we will be back with Ray Burrasca again to kind of wrap up this idea of how valuable can a trademark be to a business. So stick with us, everybody. We will be right back.
Hi, this is a training pull-up for little boys, and it's a great product to use. It makes it easy for the parent and the child when learning how to potty train. The coolest part about the product is that you don't have to take the child's pants all the way down every time that they need to use the restroom. You can just open this part here, and the child can tinkle through here, and it makes it easy for the parent and the child. It's a great product, and I cannot wait until it hits the market.
And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America, because America invents. And right now we're talking about trademarks, those names that you see out there. Sometimes you get a product like a Xerox. Everybody just, let's go Xerox it. That was actually a mark. That was a company that had a name. Kleenex. Kleenex is the other one we think about. It's like, what? Not everything was called a Kleenex. It is now. And so, marks can become very, very valuable. And for an inventor to find a good one, they need to be very strategic. And, Apple spent a lot of money to teach you that an apple is something that you play with now instead of something that you eat. But for generations, an apple was something that you picked off a tree. And shoot, now it's something that you pay $5,000 or $6,000 for, right, Mr. Burrasca?
Absolutely.
So why are marks so valuable?
Well, marks are supposed to identify the source of goods. In other words, where are the goods coming from? And the reason why that's important, especially in this day and age, is because there are so many people that are interested in trading on the effort and the money and expense that you went to design a great product. It's much easier to just copy somebody else's brilliance than it is to come up with your own brilliance. And so marks and patents and continuous business operation, all of those are essential elements to develop a sense of where one goes in order to get a product that one can depend on and rely on. And so the source of goods is really, really important.
We see that with inventors that start manufacturing, and a chain or even an independent store, they don't want to take on an individual product from an independent inventor because he doesn't have a track record. They don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with the manufacturing. And so when we go then to license the product and we license to somebody that they know, it's like, oh yeah, cool new product, yay, let's get it into the store, because of the track record. And so that track record, using a name, or using a business, that it makes a huge difference to the success of the business or the inventor, longevity.
Exactly. And again, the reason that you do it is once you've built something great, you want to kind of put up fences so that people can't just come willy-nilly in the middle of the night and steal your item away. And that's essentially what intellectual property does. It gives you an opportunity to put up fences to protect your valuable property. And what we know is that, and it's funny that you happen to mention large corporations that won't take a risk on a new inventor. But I'll tell you what, when that inventor's product actually blows through the roof, they're very quick to want to copy it and do it as cheaply as possible. So the intellectual property that you put in place, patents, trademarks, trade secrets, ongoing use at a single location. I'll give you another example that happened to a company that I was representing years ago, and I can share this information. There was a company called Sterling Optical. Sterling Optical owned the East Coast retail eyeglass business. I mean, it was a very widely recognized name. For years, they had operated throughout all of the states in the East. They decided to venture into the Midwest, and their first stop was Illinois, in Chicago. And they started, put up a store and put their brand out front, Sterling Optical, and very quickly they were shut down. And the question was, why are we being shut down? We have a registered trademark that we've been doing business under for 100 years, and we have it all over the place. And consumers see our advertisements on TV. Why are we allowed to be shut down in Illinois? And the reason was some small retail shop had adopted the name Sterling Optical years before they came into Chicago, even though they used the name after Sterling Optical had registered its own mark nationally. The fact that Sterling Optical wasn't using it in the local market gave that operator, that retail store, priority over Sterling Optical. So the key is the continuous use. And you want to be able to use it continuously in interstate commerce if you can. Because if you can prove that you've been using it in interstate commerce, even if your locations are only in certain areas within the country, but if you can prove that goods are moving through interstate commerce in the mails, through trucking and things like that, you can build a national presence and you can preempt anybody else's use of your mark.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I know, it's complicated and people kind of, take it for granted on, naming their product, but you need to put some time and, business sense into the naming of that product, because sometimes that's actually more valuable.
Correct. And you should look at the trademark as just one piece of your intellectual property. Like I said, there are many pieces of it. There's the name of your business. There is the name of the trademark that you use. There's the intellectual property otherwise that you use to protect it. It's a whole, it's actually a quiver filled with arrows that you then get to use against the competitor when they come at you. So don't slight one and emphasize only the other. It's an entire package you'd be looking at from day one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being with us and explaining to our listeners, what goes into picking a mark and how do you fight to keep it safe. because there's a lot of times when it is a tug of war. And you know what? When you've gone out there with all that money and effort and time, you want to be able to protect what you have invested in. So come back with us next week, everyone, and learn more about, new products that we are putting out there to solve the problems and to help you out in your daily life. And when you can, buy Made in America. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.